Our next speaker for the day is Mthimunye. Mike Mthimunye is video on demand coordinator with Africa's leading media company, MultiChoice. With 10 years of work experience across different industries such as business management, mining, sales, marketing, entertainment, entrepreneurship, Mike has a holistic view of the working industry. Mike will bring a perspective of how work experience can help you get ahead in the working environment and the importance of networking. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Mr. Mike Mthimunye. Over to you, sir.
Hi, everybody. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, cool. Let me just share my screen. Okay. Cool. Can everyone see my screen? No?
Yes, we can.
You can. Okay, cool. All right.
Yes.
All right. Hi, everybody. Yes, my name is Mike. Nhlanhla Mike Mthimunye, and I am a video on demand coordinator with MultiChoice, also known, most people know DSTV. But yeah, just a little bit about me. I am a creative, I am a writer, I am an MC, I am an entrepreneur, business owner, and I'm super passionate about sales and marketing. And as already stated, I work for MultiChoice as a VOD coordinator. So I'm going to be very upfront. For the first question of what inspired me to pursue this career in particular. And the truth is, I never knew that I would end up being a VOD coordinator with MultiChoice. It sort of just happened that I needed a job and I fell into this space. But what I did know was that I always wanted to be working within the media space. And I particularly thought that I would be on the other side of the camera, so probably as an actor. So I've had a very different journey when it comes to a career. I never really actually went to university first. I actually started working. And my reason for that was because when I was analyzing where I was at and if I would be able to afford to go to varsity, or if I applied for funding, I would get the job. I would get the funding. It never looked like it was going to be a possibility. So I sort of made a decision to say, look, I'm going to look for an opportunity to work and trust that I will study later. So my educational background, I went to a school in Bryanston called Michael Mount. I think I was very blessed to be able to be in that school because it really did open up a lot of opportunities, and I got to network and I got to be exposed to a lot of things as someone who comes from let's say underprivileged background. To be in that space was very fortunate. And then I matriculated and I did a short business professional journey course, which I would say really shaped my idea of what it is to be a business professional. You know, I got to understand where my skills lie and potentially where I could apply them. And then I got a job. My first job, I was actually an assistant to a kids ministry pastor. So I was working within a church. And it's quite eye opening because, you know, a lot of people wouldn't see a church as a place where you could learn a lot of skills. But it's crazy because a lot of the me discovering my creative abilities, my marketing abilities, my people skills, and yeah, I'd say some of those skills really came from that space because it actually involves all of that. So that's also where I started to study my first course, which was a Bachelor of Business Administration, BBA with an institute called IMM. But it never really worked out for me because I couldn't afford paying for the studies and working. I had to prioritize one. So then that brings me to that next point of University of Life. So for me, I really leveraged opportunities and network. And I learned most of my skills from life itself, understanding that you have to obviously start at the bottom. So like I mentioned, I started in the church environment. I learned a whole bunch of different skills, and that then opened other opportunities. Because, for example, the church that I worked for had had a lot of well, it had businesses, so I got involved in different areas and learned different things from there. But let me stick to the script. I'll come back to the stories later. So my career specifically, like I said, I'm a VOD coordinator with MultiChoice. So basically, what that means is I work with in under general entertainment, right? And we fall under broadcast. And a day in my job is sort of your typical 8 to 5 working hours. And what we do particularly is planning, scheduling, and quality control. So if you have ever watched DSTV or particularly Catch Up, basically we fall in the catch up side, and it's a streaming service. So what happens is something plays on what we call linear or live TV, and then after that, it goes down the value chain, and we put it on catch up so that viewers can watch it in their own time, and that's where we fall. So it's a value chain. We don't necessarily work alone. So after something plays out in live TV, I'm going to use linear. After something plays out in linear, there's then certain content that's selected to go into catch up. It's normally your brand new shows or high ranked shows. Then we are responsible for using a system for planning and scheduling. And basically, we plan it, we schedule it, and we then pass it on to another team, and they actually ensure that it lands on the platforms correctly. And there's a lot of stakeholder involvement. Like I said, we don't work alone. So before it comes to us, it essentially goes through channels, and they are grouped differently. So you've got your GateNet clusters, which is normally the Afrikaans channels. You've got your what we call Mzansi clusters, which is your local content, and then we've got your premium, which is Mnet, and then we've got what we call ROA, which is rest of Africa, because we operate in the whole continent of Africa. What are some misconceptions that people have about my profession? Firstly, is that if content does not make it on the platform, it's my fault. So every time I tell people I work for DSTV, they're like, "Yo, where's this show? Why is it not making it on time?" It is not my fault, like probably 98% of the time, because it's a value chain. Another misconception is that people would always be like, "Oh, why are you repeating the same content?" I don't choose which content is going on. There's a separate team that does that. And then, yeah, people also think that I get to choose the content that goes on air, which is actually not the case. Qualification and skills needed for my role. So, yeah, it's very tricky. Like I said, I don't have a degree. I never completed my degree yet, but for most people, you would need any qualification within broadcast to get into my team, particularly if you want to be a coordinator. And you need project management and coordination skills, because you work in quite a vast value chain. You need strategic and thinking skills. You got to be able to pay attention to detail, and you need to be able to work alone and in a team. Because you would be responsible for your own channels. So you'd be provided with what we call a content slate on how to allocate. Um, Basically, the way we schedule content is you've got your different packages. You've got your premium, you've got your compact, you've got your family, you've got access. Like it goes down, it goes down. So the more you pay, the higher the package. So you essentially are responsible for certain channels, and um you have to schedule for those. So you need to be able to do that by yourself, but also you're within a team, because you get measured with everyone. So even though I work on GateNet channels, I get measured with Mnet and Mzansi, and obviously I need to engage with my channel stakeholders, my content processing stakeholders on air, a whole bunch of other people. And then you need to have great conflict resolution skills, and you also need to be able to take accountability at the same time. So I was explaining earlier that it's not my fault that if something doesn't make it to the platform most of the time, but I am in the front facing line. All queries come to me because we coordinate all the different aspects of what happens. So you got to have conflict resolution and be able to take accountability. And then you need to be solution driven and innovative. The video on demand space is growing. You have Netflix, Disney Plus, and all these other streaming platforms out there. So you always need to be able to find better ways to work, and obviously give your suggestions as how to you can enhance the value offering. And you need to be able to work under pressure, because you're in the media space. One day they can just come out and say a certain producer died, or a famous actor died, or something, and then they want to broadcast that. So then they'll find a way and they say, we need to do this and we need to do it now. So yeah, those would be some of the skills. Challenges and realities. So what are some of the challenges you face in your career? So not everything is going to happen the way it is supposed to, and you must learn to adjust. What I mean by that is that there are SOPs that we follow, where certain people are supposed to deliver certain things at a certain time. Sometimes that's just not going to happen. You're going to be expecting to receive something and you're not going to receive it, and then you're going to be stuck in a situation, but you have to adjust and you have to make it work. You can't say I didn't have time to do it. You just have to fix it. How do I handle work related stress or pressure? You have to work as far ahead as possible, um, meaning that don't do the bare minimum that's required. Always try and make sure that if you've got a little bit of time, whatever you can do in advance, try do it so that you have capacity for other things, and put in extra work, and be ahead of your colleagues. That's also extremely important. And what is one thing wish I knew before entering the field? I wish that I knew I wouldn't have. I wish. Sorry. Uh, what is it? Yeah, I wish that I knew that I wouldn't have as much influence as I thought I would on the catch-up platforms. I thought I'd be able to choose the content that goes out there, but it's not necessarily true. There's a whole team. And I also wish I knew that my performance is linked to my colleagues, because sometimes you strive to do the best that you can, but you have to work with people. Growth and career opportunities. I think I'm running out of time, so I'll try and speed things up a little bit. So the growth, yeah. So the growth is very broad. Um, I work in a big team, so we're content services, and under there you have channel, you have content, which is planning, you have VOD, which is planning and scheduling, that's us, and you have EPG, which is electronic programming guide, and then you have program acceptance. Those are the people who view and classify the content. And then you have on air, who does quality controlling for when the content is on the platform. So within these departments, you can be a scheduler, you can be a coordinator, you can be a specialist. So there are quite a few different departments that you can work in once you're in there, because although we don't do the exact same thing, we're linked. And I'll just add in there, what I like is that element that there are many different opportunities within this organization. So you won't particularly be stuck in one place. And once you're inside, it's quite easy to move around. And how can someone interested in this career get started? It all starts with content. In the interviews, they'll ask you a lot about content. What do you know about content? Are you passionate about content? Do you understand the different types of content? And also understanding the broadcast industry, because you need to find where you fit in. Like being a director or a producer is part of media, but it's completely different to a media house. There's people who make the content and there's people who distribute the content. So essentially we fall under the people who distribute the content. And how to get into the industry, there's a lot of opportunity. So for example, MultiChoice does have a program called Talent Factory that runs every year, and I think it takes around up to 25 people, and it's a paid internship where you get to be exposed to different departments, and you really can learn a lot there. And also checking out other organizations, SABC, production companies, doing internships, because they do have a lot of these programs in there. Yeah. So there's a lot of opportunities there. And advice for students. Sorry, I just want to check how much time I have. Okay, not a lot of time. All right. I'll just quickly go through this last part. Advice. So for me, it's do research. Do as much research as you can. Apply for internships, and volunteer to do work for free if you can't get that internship. Nobody ever turns down anything that's for free. So if you find an organization that you want to work for, just send them an email and say, hey, I'd like to come offer my services for 3 months. Because once you're there, you'll meet people, and they'll probably, yeah, you'll probably end up getting a connection or someone who knows somebody. And what piece of advice that has helped me in my career? Well, I started working when I was in high school. I think regardless of the career that you're going to be in, it's very important to do some kind of work, because work experience is a real thing. There are so many people with qualifications but no work experience that are struggling to get employment. And I also, as I think sometimes when you come from an underprivileged background, you can't necessarily afford to be a full-time student. I would highly advise working and studying at the same time once you do finish school. Because at least when you have work experience along with a qualification, you're more employable. And then, yeah, I think my time's up. I had more advice to give, but can I give it, or should we wrap it up and go straight to the Q&A?
You can have a minute to give the advice.
Okay, cool. So I just wrote down a few points, that as much as this is about a career and excelling in a career, it's hardly that people focus on you as a person, right? So for me, it's very important to identify who you are, your values, your beliefs, and what you stand for, and be prepared to work hard. After you finish your degree, a job is not guaranteed. And you need to remember that you're a brand. So everything you do will affect you. You have to watch out what you put on social media and perceptions that go out about you, specifically in public. And invest in your character as a person. Businesses hire the character of a person, and you are more than a qualification. Build a network, guys. Dial into a community, whether it's church, whether it's a running club, whatever it is. If you're in a community, you'll always find people that are potentially in the industry or other industries. And if they know you, they can refer you, and you'll be able to build connections. And then the next thing is find a mentor. A mentor will help you change from being an impulsive young person to sort of structuring and guiding you in life and understanding how to maneuver around the workspace. And I'd say the last thing is try your best to do something that you're good at, because working is not nice when you're doing something that you don't like. You'll get into that space and you will feel absolutely defeated, and you'll just want to leave. So try and find something that aligns with what you are good at. All right. Thank you. And are there any questions?
Thank you so much, Mr. Mthimunye. That was such a beautiful presentation. I think what I love about you said something with it's not only about a career, but it's about you. So most of the time we tend to like separate a career and who we are. But then we thank you for such opportunities where we get to like merge the two, where we get to realize that advancing in a career or excelling in a career, it has everything to do with who you are also as a person. Matching that with your personality is a win. We don't have any questions in the chat box yet, but I'm just interested to know. I think you stretch networking quite a lot. How do we keep the balance, or how do young people get to keep the balance between networking well and not coming across as desperate?
So it's about relationship building. Networking is not about having people that you can just message and say, "Give me a job," but building a relationship, building a friendship. Being interested in who that person is, what they do, and being open enough to say, "Hey, can I learn from you?" Is there what advice do you have? It's about asking questions and yeah, relationship building, because at the end of the day, there's no such thing. I personally believe there's no such thing as using someone. We all use each other. Even a friend, we use them to lean on them. We use them for social engagement. So there's nothing to be ashamed about in networking and wanting to learn, because the core of it should be wanting to learn. You should be inspired by the person. You should be willing to learn from that person. And when you show interest, they'll generally want to bring you along in the journey. So I think that's the key difference for me. Whereas if you're just using that person as a connection, you'll meet them, introduce yourself, keep their contact, and only speak to them when you need something.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for stretching that out. I think even personally, that was a learning curve. I used to view networking as just an opportunity to have somebody's numbers that you can text anytime you need anything. But then now we get to realize that it's more about relationship. With the person. So thank you so much, Mr. Mthimunye, for your presentation, and thank you so much for your time. We learned quite a lot, and wishing you the best with your career endeavors. Thank you.